I'm at Torreya State Park, the skunk ape mecca, with my mom. I'm super excited because she's a huge Finding Bigfoot fan, and she actually watched the episode live back in the day. So it's a huge life cycle, and we are here. So we're calling out to the Cabbage Man and the Wild Man for a nice friendly encounter, trying to manifest our destiny. We're here at the Gregory house, right next to the Torreya tree, the famous gopher wood which Noah used to build the ark. It says, in this vicinity on the Apalachicola River, Hardy Brian Croom, pioneer, Florida planter and botanist, discovered one of the rarest coniferous trees, Torreya taxifolia, circa 1835, and named it for Dr. John Torreya, prominent American botanist. Only 4 other species exist, and there are widely separated areas of China, Japan, California. Croom's promising botanical career ended in 1837 when he perished in the wreck of the steamship Home off Cape Hatteras. But I love the pines of the Torreya, the lightest, strongest wood in the world that Noah used. And L.V. Calloway made a documentary right here, sitting looking after the old edge of the continent. He described how the good book talks about a delta breaking into 4 rivers, and this is one of the only areas on Earth that holds that. Add in with the exotic nature and trees, it's definitely something to behold. And this Gregory house has stories of apparitions, weird voices, lights, and just strange anomalies caught on tape, on recorder, and in photographs. I'm still waiting to do the inside tour, but I definitely try to keep my eyes peeled to all the windows. They have the tour hours over here, and we'll be able to grab a map for the state park. Sometimes I just want to bang on the glass and call out to the ghosts to let me in and give me a tour. But we are in the sacred Torreya State Park in the Garden of Eden, the home to my first book, the final chapter, where life began. And the Torreya Challenge is one of the most strenuous hikes down here in the Sunshine State. But as you guys know, this state park is infamous for the skunk ape and just other outdoor anomalies. My favorite thing about this house is it used to be across the river at my stomping grounds, Ocheesy Landing. And it's amazing that they brought it down the river and up this steep hillside. Imagine the secrets and the caverns that hold right here. It's definitely a dream of mine to have a houseboat, either on the bay or a major river like this. And what a cool spot. You'd be doing skunk ape research every night. I had some strange activity through Ghost Box when I was down there on the water side. You could definitely feel the abundance of energy. On the Garden of Eden trail, like the 18th stop talks about how it's the edge of the old continent, and you can see a huge plateau right here, and then it just flattens off. try to remote view and sink in to the old times before the Native Americans, even before the mound builders and the sun worshippers. American soil had pyramids, convergence of ley lines, pressure points. There's something to it. Hopefully we'll get a little closer to the message today and the secrets. While I was waiting for my mom, she's like peeking in every single window. I told her she better have packed a flashlight today because it looks like we're gonna be here after dark. But I just heard a little tree knock or a break over in this direction. So I'm taking it as a good omen, 100%, that we're gonna have some fun activity from the guardians of the forest. We just met a nature photographer that came here specifically for butterflies all the way from Georgia. It was really cool talking to him. He used to work for the Forest Service. He hasn't really had much experience with Bigfoot, but he definitely enjoys nature. And we shared information, and his name is Roy Cohutta, and he actually used to camp a bunch on Big Frog Mountain, Cohutta Mountain. And as you guys know, I camped there last year with Squatchn Cowboy, Manimal Research, Flat Rock Booger, Blue Eyed Northern, all my family. And it was really cool. And as you guys know, with mud fossils, that is an old frog. If you look at it ahead, it shows the true titans and the leviathans. But right here, I found some old feces, old scat. Probably from a hog or another large mammal. But it just shows that there's a plethora of food and resources out here for the Torreya titans. I also just got a recent report from a guy named Doug. He said, I camped Torreya, setting my tent up in the back right at a high trail. Sure enough, about 1 a.m., sticks start popping. The monster was breathing right over my tent, and I am sure he could hear my heart beating. He then walked to the next campsite and removed pot lids looking for food. Earlier that night, our hiking group could see biggie heads sticking out of the ground. I found there were 8 feet deep creek beds that they were using to follow us. Fun, fun, fun in Northwest Florida. Pretty cool, wild report. I'm really looking forward to camping out here with Tyler Howell Outdoors and Matt Williamson from Squatchn, South Florida. Hoping we have some friendly close encounters, but breathing over my tent, that is a little spooky. Best believe that. It was cool talking to the butterfly guy about how the rare plants bring the bees and the butterflies. And as Chaz the Dead will tell you, the bees have connection to the UFOs and levitation. And in Jupiter Sending, they say that the bees, they can recognize authority or royalty. So if you find yourself getting buzzed around, it might have a higher purpose. Something scattering in the woods over there. Checking out these trails in Torreya State Park. Made famous after Stacy Brown and his father filmed a 9-foot skunk ape with thermal late one night. They reached out to Cliff Brackman. Soon after, there was a Finding Bigfoot episode here. Tons of researchers flocked to this area, set up camp, made documentaries, films, podcasts. And it has definitely magnetically pulled me here from Ohio, the land of 10,000 mounds. Good friend Donnie Miller also had a face-to-face encounter on the Torreya Challenge trail. I had a boulder be thrown behind me and also recorded something wading through a creek here. Matt Moneymaker told me the creek beds exactly where we'll find them. There's tons of caves, cliffs, sinkholes, and other strange anomalies out here. There's been huge casted footprints and some weird sounds that have been recorded. When I used the ghost box out here, it recorded some weird animal sounds, grunts, calls, squeaks and screams. A lot of famous nature YouTube channels have been out here too, just because these trails are pretty much unlike anything else in the state of Florida. And if you dig into the sacred history, 27 and 28 trees in the Bible, gopher wood, which Noah used to build the ark, delta that breaks into 4 rivers, all the UFO anomalies, the Chattahoochee mounds, 1 central mound and then 6 in a semicircle around it. They all align with the summer solstice and the winter equinox. The Apalachicola is like a highway for these creatures. Chipmunk or something, I could see its tail going over there. Yeah, he looked big and fat, so it was a well-fed one. But it could have been possibly a pukwudgie or gremlin, ghoulie, Ewok, little person. Maybe even a spirit. It's cool how there's valleys and cliffs and dense forests. Something new in every direction. We're keeping our eyes peeled for bare footprints or disturbances on the ground, and also tree structures, and they come in many different forms: bends, breaks, twists, arches, domes, TP structures, even ground glyphs. Sometimes you'll see X's on the ground. Kind of reminds you of Blair Witch. I love how these banks have some overhangs and they could be hiding in the Spanish moss. And if you watch Long Island Bigfoot or Damien, Tim T, you can see that these elementals of the forest are a lot closer than you realize. I know when I had my back cam footage from last summer here, there was more than a dozen comments pointing out weird anomalies. Yeti faces, black noses, orbs, skyfish, rods. And I already saw a cardinal here, which is an awesome sign for us, because we're both from Ohio, and that is the buckeye bird. But my friend Cassie also told me how it is loved ones reaching out. I think that's pretty cool. This is pretty interesting how it like ramps down and then it's like a little plateau staging area.
Yeah, here.
Yeah. Kind of looks like one of the Civil War dugouts that they have over by the coast. And just like how alligators can burrow themselves under the bank and kind of dig their own little condo, I definitely think these creatures can do that as well.
There's definitely a lot of game trails.
Oh yeah, in every direction. And when we were talking to the photographer, there was a couple gunshots from probably outside the state park. But then I heard some rustling in the forest. It was pretty interesting. The man that just came into my shop recently was talking about 40 years ago on a school trip. They were canoeing down the river. More than 10 of them heard a creature thrashing through the woods. That was pretty cool. I hope to get him to tell that story on video soon. But my favorite story connected to this place is, of course, the Ocheesee Pond Wild Man. It was captured in 1874 after harassing women and children in the village. The Native American gatherers and Civil War veterans had a team together and they surrounded the creature on a deep island. There's a waterfall below. I'm not sure if this is Weeping Ridge Falls, but that is a famous waterfall that is here. So it is possible that this is Weeping Ridge. But definitely super sacred with the rocks. Taxifolia. You can definitely think that these creatures drank from the same water. Abundant resources. It's really cool when it goes underground at some areas. Dang, that looks so awesome. Definitely a special place. Just a couple feet, but it is cool how it like snakes through the canyon. But to finish up my story with the Ocheesee Pond Wild Man, after the men captured the creature, they sent him to the Capitol. And the governor said, oh, no way. Send him to Chattahoochee Hospital. Chattahoochee is well known in the film world for Gary Oldman's masterpiece that talks about a war veteran being treated cruelly and unusual. So you gotta think how the wild man was treated. They say he was buried with the Native Americans, and then they put a building on top of that gravesite. Other people said they just put him out in the middle of the woods, and now it's nearby the abandoned golf course. One of my good buddies works on those grounds and lives there, so I have been recently searching for the grave of the wild thing. That definitely looks really cool. They always say follow the X's, the T's, the Y's, and the A's in the forest. And where we come from is the Ohio Grassman, the Minerva Monster, the Lake Erie Serpent. What's kind of cool is our hometown mascot was the Brunswick Blue Devils. In West Virginia lore, a Blue Devil is a werewolf. So it's kind of cool thinking that our mascot might have been named after all the Dogman sightings. Maybe that's what the dog pound from the Cleveland Browns is transformed from. I know the original logo was an elf, because the Brownies, that is an elf. And the Detroit Reds, that's an elf species. Gemma Jade will tell you guys how some elves are this big and some are 12 feet tall and gray, covered in fur. So I'm sure that some Sasquatch sightings and fairy sightings go hand in hand. But if you follow the pine cone in your pineal gland, things start to align and make sense. But of course, a pine cone follows the Fibonacci spiral, the golden ratio, which also aligns with seashells, our mind, the true galaxies, probably even the layout of land. These fallen trees are really good shelter for creatures. Imagine one 10 size on a bank. Could definitely create a hunting blind. There's a nice little bank. Oh. At least you'd fall in the water if you tumbled down that hill. I definitely want to go back to Peepaw and Grandma's farm and videotape their land one day. Because they have waterfalls and like overhangs. I'm sure we could find some caves on their property.
Yeah, back there in the back.
At that rock structure, Raven's Rocks, there's actually a little farther down the cliffside, there's an old man's face. And I found it. So I definitely want to find that in real life. Something's running over there.
It's been a tree. that came out.
Mm-hmm.
That hole, that circular thing right there.
These monkey men could definitely latch onto that and just perch like a habitat. That tree is about to timber. Right here is the cool stone bridge of Torreya. Down the creek over there to the right is where I found that red jasper piece that seemed to be worked on similar to an arrowhead. There's definitely some cool gems that you can get to. I love checking the sand for strange footprints. A dream find would definitely be a shark tooth right here, and it's definitely possible. I have found multiple shark teeth in Florida creeks, but this one at the Skunk Ape Mecca, that'd be something special. But that red jasper piece is definitely something to behold. I don't know if it was old Native Americans or maybe a precious gem of the skunk man. They were actually supposed to have a camp out here that my mom and I were interested in with Stacy Brown, Cliff, and Bobo before the hurricane, but then Hurricane Michael wiped this place out and sadly, yeah, it got canceled.
Oh, no.
Timber. We're gonna see what kind of spirits try to communicate. Is there any Civil War spirits or fallen Floridians out here that want to communicate? Could you say your name? Does this land go back to Adam and Eve? Are the Bigfoot in the region descendant of Cain? If there's any creatures out there, can you make noises? Is there any treasure in these banks? Where do the caves lead? Is there anything watching us now? If I say haba, what's your response? Dog? Haba. Wolf? What about knock? Friend? That's 3 for 3. Are the wild men here descendants of Ochisi Pond? Did they kill the man at Chattahoochee Hospital? The giant skeleton that they found at Ochisi Pond, was that a Bigfoot? There's lost manatee and saber-toothed tiger, rhinoceros fossils here. Is there any other animals? My mom smells feces right now. It's definitely a weird smell.
Right there.
These creatures definitely know how to play with the light. They know when we are blinded by it, they could probably approach pretty near and we wouldn't have a clue. These shadow beings definitely know how to hide and lurk in the darkness, but also in plain sight. The clear hair definitely allows for light to reflect off and to camouflage with the surroundings. You see it with monkeys. White fur will turn green. So these dark creatures turn camouflage green in the swamp. They're definitely masters of the grid, echolocating, infrasound, and other ultimate abilities from nature. There's definitely a sacred pathway to be a skunk ape enthusiast and to be marching the trails that they filmed the Finding Bigfoot episode, and that Stacy Brown's done so much Bigfoot research. It's just awesome to be following in their footsteps and making my own name and lane. We definitely got to learn from the best and try to soak in the vibrations of all. That includes the bootleggers, the archaeologists, the Civil War veterans that were hunkering and bunkering down along the bank. And then also nature and the voices that you could tap into. And when you're surrounded by gopher wood and red clay, old fossils, it's easy to tap into the caveman tendencies. And these fire ants will show you that you don't have to be 12 feet tall and filled with muscle.
Yeah, look at that, Connor.
To pack a punch.
Talking about so many laying things, yeah, animals laying right there.
Yeah, it's definitely a little resting area. Hopefully it's not a trap. But wow, this is definitely a staging area. The animals have definitely been laying down. I think it is a perfect place to leave this marble for a gift. We will see next time if it is still here. It's very cool to see all the language of the arbor. And again, if you follow the pine cone in your third eye, the spirit molecule will guide you. I'm searching for long strands of hair, clumps, even some bones are scattered through. It's cool seeing all the different game trails leading right to that area. Deep breaths and visualizing, manifesting, being thankful, appreciative. Just what it's about. Gotta walk with the luck of Irish and carry the Buckeye blood with us. From the mistake on the lake up in Cleveland, down here to the panhandle swamps. Something magnetically pulled me to this area. Something special. And sometimes you go through dark places like Tate's Hell Swamp and the Apalachicola National Forest, where the stories of C.B. Tate battling against swamp monsters and falling in love with an Amazon goddess in the night, eventually succumbing to the forest. And then Apalachicola had Kevin Saunders, the telepathy encounter. Very weird and wild. And it's awesome to soak it in. We brought some of the finest beef jerky from the Ohio Valley, what my grandpa harvested. And the Ohio Valley is really famous for mounds and giants. But yes, we brought beef jerky today. So it is really funny that someone actually requested that.
It's actually deer jerky.
Yeah, it's deer jerky. The real stuff, venison. That's what of course, Esau liked to go after. So we are going to leave a small piece of deer jerky right here on the woods. I took a bite and I want to share it out with my wild man brother. And if that doesn't bring him in, I honestly don't know what else would.
Like crack is right. What do you have in your bag?
The Florida skunk ape name originally came from a white patched or white striped Bigfoot up here in the panhandle. But then, of course, the smell that came with it definitely strengthened the name. I want you guys to check out Bridges, a disturbance in Flat Creek. My buddy Jack McCullen made a documentary right in this area about the skunk ape. Talks about the Bridges family, that they were a subject of a Finding Bigfoot episode 2. They're the ones who had that greasy handprint on the front door. They've had alien, dogman, skinwalker, tons of strange encounters. And Carolyn is actually a witch, and she's a descendant of an ancient deity, so she thinks that's what's bringing these creatures in. I can't wait to camp out there. And it's really cool talking to other researchers that were there a decade ago. Now I'm here to do the follow-up investigation. The temperature has definitely dropped. In my future videos, I plan on letting people know the temperature and try to add more variables to our research and experience. The Skunk Ape Lives and the Skunk Ape Experiments by Stacy Brown are awesome. I got to work on the Skunk Ape Experiments in the recreation scenes. My homie Jonathan Ray and Tristan Smith got to do the on-screen performance. I was really proud of them. It debuted at the Florida Bigfoot Conference. Man, it got an awesome reception. RPG joked about the 9 people that had to leave after it started getting a little too Aleister Crowley. But that's what it's about. It's about to test your boundaries and your limitations, and you become part of the experiment. And I can attest that the very next day in the Green Swamp, we had some profound encounters, knocking back and forth, footprints, even some amazing photographs. But the conference was amazing. Got to speak on stage from 100 people, hundreds of people. Had the place rocking and rolling. Lauren Coleman, Lyle Blackburn, Maria Mayor, Marie DeMont, RPG was the host. Tim T also spoke. Bigfoot Dave, who he's a good friend of mine, that was lifted up in a tent by a Bigfoot. And he's originally from Ohio too. Pretty sure the Cleveland area like us. And he helped start the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. So it's really cool how life comes full circle quite often. As BF Bud will tell you, and Angie, they say that Bigfoot likes blonde women. So when I bring my mom out here, she's good bait for the Bigfoot.
Oh, thank you.
But we definitely have to keep an eye on each other, because David Politis will let you know that a lot of people are going missing in dense forest areas under unexplainable circumstances. My good friend Steve Stockton has also wrote a lot about the stories in Appalachian Trail and other weird anomalies in national parks. Theodore Roosevelt is said to have hunted these creatures all to these preserves and MPs other people say that he might be the true Trapper Bauman from his story. He just had political career dreams and goals, so he made up that it was a third-person story, but actually he was the one who was captured by the Sasquatch. Wouldn't that be interesting? JFK, I'm related to on my dad's side, was one of the last freedom fighters that we had in the White House. Luckily, I got to go out to Dallas and explore that famous location. On my mom's side, I'm related to Thomas Jefferson. She's really into ancestry. And although he wasn't the best guy, he definitely goes down in history, and he has a widespread family. So that links me with many others. My mom is also a twin, and they say that offspring of twin have strong antennas. So that might explain a little something about me. In these banks, you can just see huge camouflage. Anything could be just watching us, lurking in the shadows, just waiting for one of us to slip up. The other night, I got pretty scared while I was hiking. I thought someone was after me like a crazy man or wild man, but it might have been the headless ghost of Look and Tremble. I would just had to step to the side and trip him, hip toss him. Weird. Definitely a workout.
Burns my back and my legs.
It's a lot steeper than it seems.
Your toes. Just burns.
We can take a break. Woo! Of course, they'll get creative with their response, and right when we're making sounds or going past something loud, that's when they'll respond back. Smell something. Maybe musk.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, that's what I smelled right in that little breeze too.
I poop.
Yeah, small poop. From the feel of it, about 4 or 5 days old. But you'd have to taste it
Down and then
to to really know.
Oh, quit.
That's what Bear Grylls and Les Stroud. Scat on the Platte. People came up to my table and said, "What are your parents like?"
Oh.
At the conference.
Well, why would they be asking like that?
Just
Because of the-
like how to, well, what
activities?
created me?
Yeah. What'd you say? Oh, they're normal like me.
I just said, yeah, they raised me right, and then I went off the deep end.
Oh.
For anybody new to the channel, you guys can check my books out on Amazon. Erie Swamps, Road Trip to Eden. Talks about my journey from Lake Erie down here to the Florida swamps. And it ends right here in the Garden of Eden where life began. Pretty cool. And the second one was Big Brother Bigfoot. Talks about 15 creatures, werewolves, swamp things, grassmen that I've researched and investigated. And my third book was Monsters and Mysteries Around the Corner. Talks about how we don't have to really look too far, because your own family tree holds some strange stories just right around your street as well. I grew up on Boston Road, leads all the way to Boston, Ohio, which is known for Cuyahoga Valley National Park, home of the Grassman, but also home of Helltown, the real life Silent Hill and Resident Evil Raccoon City. But the fourth book is Panhandle Pirates. That one talks about searching for treasure and cryptids here in the Panhandle. Hugging Molly, famous giant female ghost that will squeeze you so hard that your bones break and screech in your ear till you go insane. And then Cohelee Creek Goatman, the Mobile Wolf Woman. A lot of cool, fun stories. Even the Pensacola Serpent, the Frogman, the Cat People, the Mariana Caveman. I'm working on a new book called Deep South Swamp Things. That I'm going to talk about a bunch of different skunk apes and creatures from the Black Lagoon. I'm in the movie called Zillafoot. It's free to watch on Amazon Prime. It's a cult classic, so bad it's good. It did really well online, and now it's actually in Best Buy, Walmart, and FYE. And the birds definitely communicate. They don't forget faces. They're very wise. We used to actually have parrots
I think that's a holly.
named Petey. Petey and Tiki. They could talk. I recently heard a video of a seal that could talk. He could remember what his owner would say. It was like, "Hey, get over here. Bring me that." My mom thought the road was right up there. I knew it wasn't. Huh. Our newest short film in the cryptid world is The Void Cat, and it's a werewolf, splinter cat, wild man movie that I play the main character, and it is filmed in Chattahoochee. And we actually had a mild Bigfoot encounter when I was with Ethan, former police officer. We were exploring the grounds because I heard there used to be concerts in a big lake. So we went and found the dock and the stage and we found the gardener, and he said, oh, these woods are really strange. And then we were exchanging information, and a tree crashed down. Ethan said, are you the only ones out here? He said, yeah, me and my dog. He knew. It was the wild thing. But that short film is truly magical. It talks about curses and cryptids. You really can't beat it. But it expands into a bigger universe of lost and found.
I think that's a concrete.
Yeah, like another wall or something.
Yeah, like
Maybe a well.
a, like a well. Yeah.
The most recent short film I was part of, I play a female serial killer's victim in The Choice. Did you just find that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. $5 bill. Dang, that's awesome. Look at that. We are rich. Well, we can pay for Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome. Right at the edge of the trail. Meant to be. Everybody have a good one. Make sure you visit Torreya State Park and camp out here if you really want to encounter the skunk ape up close. So we just got done talking to the ranger, and he was telling me that he found a huge footprint over by the rock bluff near the red clay after a storm. He said he's heard tons of things. So I can't wait to camp out here and maybe talk to him when I'm filling out the permits. So if I pay to stay, and you gotta let me know what's creeping around. It's in the fine print. The sun's going down here. You can kind of just feel the place get a little bit stranger by the second. Really looking forward to camping out here and testing the boundaries at the primitive campsites. But also love coming out here from Ocheesy Landing and then taking the kayak across Apalachicola River. I feel like that's an angle that doesn't get explored often. So it's a good way to search for these cryptids. Good to see y'all. I'm going to read one of the final chapters of my book, Big Brother Bigfoot, Across the World. There have been reports of the wild man since the beginning of time on all continents of the world. North America is home to Sasquatch. Australia has the Yowie, and the Yeren calls Asia home. The Yeti and abominable snowman patrol the cold regions, while the skunk ape and rock apes patrol the swamp and jungle. The truth of their existence has been proven. Now it's time to figure out who they are. The North American Bigfoot has been spotted from the icy shores of British Columbia to the sunny beaches near the Everglades. Native Americans and First Nations people learned from a young age to respect our forest elders. They have been taught to not go into the forest after dark, and if they do encounter the creatures, to proceed with extreme caution. The indigenous people traded, coincided and sadly battled the tribe of lost giants. But the bond is still strong, and that may be the reason that the species feel more comfortable on reservation land. Down under, the Aussies named their creature the Yowie. They also refer to it as the Yaroma, Wawi, Jimbra, and Tangera. The Aboriginals know of 2 different species of these beasts on their island. One stands tall like the American Sasquatch, and the other is between 4 to 5 feet tall. Ancient cave art depicts these 2 cryptids walking side by side. Sightings are popular on the east side of the continent. The Pilliga Scrub is a hotspot. Many people avoid driving through after dark. The Junjari have been known to feast on kangaroos and are fearless of humans. In the Yarra ranges, Yowies are known to keep Melanese leopards as pets and hunting companions. Patagonia literally means the land of the giants. Spanish explorers encountered a 12-foot, 2-headed giant while surveying the new lands. They battled it and it killed 4 pirates. The men finally slayed the titan with a spear to the heart. They mummified the creature and later toured it with a circus. It has been tested and been ruled authentic. There is a lot of ancient English lore about giants and behemoths. In Shanaga, there is a statue of a mother Yeren embracing her child. It is a popular spot for tourists to snap a photo. In the land of giant pandas, clouded leopards, and golden snub-nosed monkeys, this elusive creature is looked to as a protector. The existence of the Yeren is common knowledge, and ancient texts show that humans and these creatures have done more than just live on the same mountainside. In the 1800s, there was a Neanderthal ape lady named Zana, captured in Russia. They broke her will over time and used her as a slave. She had multiple children with men of the village. The first 2 died when she dipped them in the freezing cold rivers. Her 3rd child survived, and there are photos of her son that show his abnormal features. They dug up his skeleton after his death and found many characteristics very interesting in his skull and bone structure. The snowman has been spotted from the Himalayas to Mount Everest. Many different expeditions have recovered evidence and first-hand encounters with the elusive beast. A mummified hand, yeti skull, and hide were just some of the remnants that were discovered. The creatures crossed a giant land bridge and spread to all the dense fortresses of the world. Sadly, during the Vietnam War, soldiers had more to worry about than guns and bombs. A species of 6-foot-tall hominid terrorized both sides of the army. Rock apes were originally given their name for their annoying habit of hitting soldiers with rocks. These creatures gave up position, ruined camps, and even gave the even most hardened vet nightmares. The young men were told by their superiors to keep their mouths shut. In multiple occurrences, soldiers killed these creatures and they couldn't believe their eyes. In recent times, our troops have battled some creatures and partnered with others. In Afghanistan, an entire troop went offline. They sent in reinforcements and found all the equipment scattered, leading to a cave. They approached and a giant spear was thrown in their direction. It sadly struck one of our soldiers and he was killed. Out ran a giant red-haired man and they opened fire. After hundreds of shots, the Titan finally fell. They picked him up in a helicopter, and the verified incident is remembered as the Kandahar Giant. I have talked to a handful of soldiers that have been stationed over there, and they said that it is just one story that got out to the public. These creatures have surrounded us our entire lives. They roam the forest in our backyard and on our children's TV screens. We have learned the way of the land from them, yet we still continue to take from their home. I believe the secret to our existence is much closer than we believe. Some ancient brothers reach out to us, and the lucky ones of us listen. But sadly, people are still vanishing by the hundreds, so we need to be prepared with GPS locator beacons and firearms. But one day, I hope this world can have more friendships like Han and Chewie. I hope you have enjoyed this adventure and learned a few things about the unknown creatures of our forest. Make sure to take all the necessary safety precautions when entering the bush and prepare when planning an extended exhibition. Stay tuned to my SoundCloud and Instagram for daily interviews and paranormal adventures. Tune in to Bigfoot Society, Sparks of the Paranormal, Induced Fear, Squatchcast, Science Meets Bigfoot, Rare and Unusual, Mysteries of the Past and Present, and Our Different Take if you want to hear me talk about my experiences with some experts in the field. Also check out David Politis, Steve Isdall, Scott Carpenter, and Les Stroud's projects. The stairs to the sky are worth the climb. Wow. Big Brother, Bigfoot. Beyond the Fray is going to be putting out a new edition of it, and it is going to be available on Amazon. Just search my name. Peace, y'all. There's nighttime in her eyes and she comes alive. There's moonlight in her blood and she does it real good. The mice in the swamp can smell her coming. It's hell of the yacht, you better get to running. There's nighttime in her eyes and she comes alive. Fireflies in the sky when she dances around the fire. The stars shine bright but they stare down in desire. But one day chose to tell her no, never came back, never told a soul. There's nighttime in her eyes and she comes alive. Down by the river they called her a sitter. They ran every summer and hid every winter. There's nighttime in her eyes and she comes alive.
Flesh of the unguided and non-believers fuel this void.
Okay, Connor, we found Bigfoot. His taxidermy head. They said this is actually a deer's butt. You can see the tail that runs down, and then they just put a face into it. It's pretty cool.